We come to our final session, and I'm going to call it the family session, actually. So I'm sure all of us know what our outputs, so we're sharing amongst ourselves. So I would like to, so we have 3 presentations today. I think Flavio is starting to share with us what we think we've learned from the C maps, and then Marwa is going to have a very short presentation and share with us the movie that they prepared from the Amman workshop with like a 5-minute intervention about their experience. And then Federica will also discuss a little bit the outputs at the end. And what I would like to do, remember we did on Wednesday the brainstorming session. So Petra and I reorganized a little bit the thoughts into some 5 main categories, and I would like to share them with all of you. And if everyone agrees with that, then maybe we can adopt them as part of our, final closing of our conference. Okay? So, Flavio? Okay, this is it.
Okay, so good afternoon. So far we have talked about the contents of our educational activities, but as you know, the Erasmus program funds educational tools more than the content. So most of our activities were targeted to testing educational tools, which in our case was concept mapping. And we use concept mapping for the purposes of interdisciplinary learning. I will not say anything about interdisciplinarity because we have talked a lot about it. We know why it is useful for energy planning. And I will just depict it this way, as Batman joining forces with Superman against a common evil, which in our case is, global warming, I would say, except for this room, which is kept ravishingly refrigerated for some reason. And so concept mapping for interdisciplinarity. This is what was the core of our project. You all know what concept mapping is. I will just say a few words for the sake of the registration which is being made. It is no treasure map, of course. It is a graphical tool showing relationships between concepts about a given topic, which could be any topic. In our case was energy, sustainability, and energy planning. It represents, or it is intended to represent, a person's cognitive structure about this topic. And it is used to convey meaningful learning, which is a type of learning opposed to the traditional memorization techniques. Okay, so as Novak says, Novak is the inventor of concept mapping applied to meaningful learning, is that it is a type of learning that takes place by the assimilation of new concepts into this existing concept held by the learner. So this is a tool that we used, and we used it a lot, and we used it to foster interdisciplinarity. Interdisciplinarity is something that is sometimes difficult to apply in ordinary academic curricula, and so this was the occasion to organize intensive workshops, of which the most important was the workshop for students in Amman, which was a workshop, there are authors that already have found the connections between interdisciplinarity and concept mapping, because they both require the ability to create connections and combine different fields. So this is important. The Amman workshop, which was, besides the coffee break, it was a lot of exercises. And it was targeted to 90 students from different countries and from very different disciplines. It was organized in 4 parallel sessions, and each session had small working groups of students who went to different exercises of concept mapping of increasing difficulty. Now, for the students, for many of them, I think it was quite challenging, especially in the first days, because they were not used to interact with students of different fields. So I can imagine some, they were not very comfortable with it in the beginning. Maybe there was some, do I have to deal with this chemistry dude, or do I have to make connections with that landscape nerd or something like that? But in the end, I think it worked very well. After 7 or 8 days, it did work. And we learned some very, very simple things, but things that are important to apply when dealing with interdisciplinarity. The first thing is that, of course, you have to train both teachers and students on concept mapping itself, because it is not, well, it is an old tool, but it's not very known by the academic staff and the students. Because it takes time, and this is important. Whenever you want to use concept mapping in your activities at university, just make sure that you take time to explain how it works. And in our case, we made many preliminary workshops for the teachers to make them aware of the tool and how to use it, and how they could pass the tool to the students in the Amman workshop. So we explained fundamentals of the tool, and of course we tried to achieve consensus on what makes a good map, because concept mapping is not, well, it's very subjective. So you have to give some, in my opinion at least, you have to give some rules, but at the same time, not too many, because it is a very fresh tool. It is like a window on the learner's brain. So if you, if you provide too strict a grid of rules, it doesn't work very well. Secondly, you have to share basic concepts. This is something I think we didn't do enough, but we learned that it has to be done, especially in the first days. Since we have students coming from very different fields, we have to make sure that they agree on the main concepts that they are going to use. In our case, there were students from IT, from physics, from chemistry, who were not aware at all of what planning is. So let's talk about planning, what is energy planning, what it is for, and so on. But also other basic concepts about energy. Some of the tutors use the board to discuss among the students publicly on the main concept, and this was done on the first day. Because it is also useful to highlight misconceptions in the students' previous knowledge and in what they are learning. And of course, to level the students, the level of students' knowledge on the first day. Third, we did organize a contest, which was a very funny contest. We told the students on the last day that their last exercise would have to be presented to everybody and would be assessed by a jury, and then the 3 best works would receive the mention. And this was done to, a thing that occurred to me also when I first approached concept mapping is that it seems trivial. It seems too simple and it seems useless. And to students, it might appear as something that they have to add to their, to their activities, so something that is boring and so on. So if you add some reasons for commitment, it is very nice. And I think it worked in our case, because in the last exercise, when they knew they had to make this little contest, there were many students who worked beyond the assigned time and so on. And by doing that, they were enthusiastic, and I saw that the level, there was a big step forward in the level of their works on the last day. So this was also important. It happens sometimes that, at the end of the workshop, I might think that, oh no, it's not working, I don't like the works of the students, maybe I did something wrong. But then in the last day, there is this leap forward that is quite surprising. Of course, if you have to assess the maps, you have to decide an assessment method. And it's been discussed a lot in literature, but there are many methods that have been proposed that are at least partially quantitative, but I don't like them because they're very time-consuming. So it's like you have to count the number of concepts or control the scientific correctness of the propositions and so on. It is very time-consuming. We didn't have such time, so I proposed a series of very simple evaluation criteria to the jury. Criteria such as presence of crosslinks or correctness of syntax, presence of all the arrows, and so on. So we agreed on these criteria, and also at the same time we asked the students to present their works. And this also helps because it is not like an evaluator checking on a simple multiple choice questionnaire, which is very mechanical, but concept map is more subjective. So it is nice if the student explains how he reached that result. So you can understand how the student intended the concept mapping exercises and how and why he arrived to that result instead of another. Another thing which is important is to provide feedback during the exercises. I believe that concept mapping is closer to a meiotic type of teaching. So it is dynamic. It is a dynamic task. So you have to tutor them during the exercises, and you have to provide occasions for discussing publicly among the students. So many groups were asked to present their maps during the sessions and discuss it with the others and so on. So collective learning, interdisciplinarity again. It is a dynamic task, and again, it is able to reveal the students' knowledge and misconceptions. So these are basically some of the lessons that we have learned. And another thing is that, well, it's not very elegant to quote the person who's talking after me, but I was reading this on the proceedings last night, and I was quite surprised because provided it is true, and she didn't say it just to make us happy, but if it's true, it's like it is exactly what we wanted to achieve. So this is interdisciplinarity. So it is negotiating the importance of ideas, eliminating repeated concepts, prioritizing information, and learn from each other. So this is, if this is true, I think we reached our purpose. But I let her explain better.
If it's true.
We will see. So that's it. Thank you.
The famous words of Marwa Kennedy can join us. I think Marwa is going to share with us the movie she had prepared using GoPro. She's going to do some basic commentary on what is the AUB student experience during the workshop, right? Okay.
Hello everyone, my name is Marwa Darazia, and I graduated from AUB a couple of months ago. Technically, I'm a landscape architect now, but I was a student when I joined the ENEPLAN workshop in Jordan. To me, the words were really true, really. I found it, like, I won't go into details about CMAP and about the exercises that you talked about, but I would like to say that the fact that there were multiple disciplines, the fact that there were multiple cultures, within the group that I was working with, it encouraged me and enriched my intellectual part and my, what do I say? Like not only intellectually, but also culturally, and how I deal with people and how I deal with how to negotiate and fight for my opinion, and to see kind of how to prioritize which idea is more important than the other, especially that I'm working with people who are undergraduates and master students. So maybe I wasn't the oldest one and maybe I wasn't the wisest one, but at the same time, I was getting there through CMAP. We would get the fact that it was a blank page, and then we're filling it with information and concepts and linking them, not only through arrows that go back and forth or just in one direction, but also through pictures, through sketches, through definitions and links that actually encourage this map and the use of it. Honestly, after I came back from the workshop, I used it in my final year project as a landscape student. And I found it really interesting because whenever I wanted to introduce my project statement or my project from A to Z and the solutions that I came up with regarding problems that I faced through the landscape project, I was able to just show my CMAP, and people would understand and maybe have a few questions rather than explaining and talking in the air. It was very useful for me. And also, we were a group that traveled to Amman, and we all noticed positive, we had positive experiences, and most of us used it in the thesis and projects, and sometimes it was just for brainstorming and so on. Honestly, the last thing I want to say before I put a video that would take you through our Jordan trip. I strongly believe that the CMAP tool should be used throughout anything, any project or any kind of negotiation, or it should be the platform for different different disciplines to work on it, because it really eases the communication. It simplifies words rather than big, huge paragraphs and sentences. And I would rather talk on the CMAP rather than talk through articles and 5 pages and so on and so forth, since this was the first exercise we did. So yeah, that was it. And I'm gonna put the video.
By the way, Marwa is the one who designed all the graphics and the booklet and the poster and the pen and the big roll-ups. So I think
أنا كتير important. كنت عارفة أنت مهم.
في صوت؟ كيف؟ عندك صوت
واضح.
في صوت.
No CMAPs. The first part, we weren't able to take pictures during the workshop. بدك وقفه؟
شو؟ بعد نكمل؟
لا ما مش ضروري. بقى الجديدة طلعت مش هيك، بس it was إنه بس دقيقة زيادة عن السيما.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I think you can stop. Thank you, Marwa. See, our Jordanian partners. Beautiful Jordan, I think. He got a big credit for it, so I think it's fantastic.
You could use the first part for the ENEPLAN website and the second part for the
Maybe we split it into two movies. One is CMAP and one is Jordan. I think that would be good.
I think the Minister of Tourism will be very happy to do that.
Okay, so for our last presentation, Federica and Federica.
Looks like it. Two comedians, Federica and Federica.
Federica times two.
We are in the family, so maybe that we are going to skip some of the slides because most of you knows the process we have been in for these 3 years. So we're going to skip something maybe. This presentation was made to give to external people an insight into our outputs. So we are going to go directly to a summing up of the structure, and then to the final, to see the final outputs and the open educational resources we have produced. So, yes, you know, ENEPLAN involved 18 countries from 18 partners from 6 countries. Yes, you know that. That also you know that we aim to improve the educational offer on energy planning, so we can skip this part. You know also
all the
partners, so we can go forward. Then, of course, you know also that we started from the idea that necessary to go beyond the idea that renewable energy systems are necessarily good. So they are not good anyway. This calls for an integrated approach. The impact assessment of such impacts, such renewable energy systems require an interdisciplinary approach that can may need new skills that can benefit from applying new educational tools. So, yeah, you know already, because Flavio also said about that, about what concept mapping is. This is an example of the concept map built on our project, in which the focus question was, what is ENEPLAN about? But go forward. During this project, we were looking for 2 kinds of results. One concerning the methodology, so the transfer of sea mapping and tools. The other concerning the knowledge exchange and the development of a common reflection on this topic. So we produced some outputs. They are not only that we want to be open educational resource in the sense that EU and agency of the program recommend. So our open educational resources are open license material. They are accessible online openly. They can be freely used, diffused, improved, changed, and shared and exchanged. So how we produced, how we search to produce such output, such open educational resources. We organized all the project as a cycle of workshops. All the workshops followed the same structure, a cycle of presentation and a group work section on sea mapping. So we had the kickoff meeting and we had the first workshop in Rome. We first of all we had some introductory section about the sea mapping, and then we have an exchange about case studies and scientific papers, and we work a lot about the state of the art during the first workshop. At the end of the first workshop, we could draft the first basic CMAP. Then we have the cycle of the 4 thematic workshops that was held all in the European countries. So we had the first one in Spain, the second one in Malta, the third one in Siena, and the last one in Faro. At the end of this cycle of thematic workshop, we could we could produce an improvement, an advancement of the first CMAP, adding links to the thematic maps we produced during the thematic workshops. So then we tested, it comes the moment to test the learning process we have experimented with the staff, with the students. So we had the intensive course in Amman. As we have heard, it was successful, and we are really satisfied with that. And at the end, we learned something also from the students. So we improved again the map. So we produced the CMAP 2.0. Then we had another workshop, the last workshop, that was dedicated, the one in Cairo, that was dedicated to the finalization of the map. So we put everything together. We also had some extra content about the sustainable energy transition. And then we have now our final version of the CMAP, our main maybe output, our main open education resource, that is the CMAP 2.1. Now it is available under the Creative Commons license, so it is a fully open educational resource, also complying with the requirements of the agency, and it is available on the project website and also on the CMAP cloud, as we commented on the steering committee. So this picture here summarizes more or less the process of production of our open education resources, the inputs and the outputs of each step of this process. And here we are. We can now go in depth to each open educational resource.
Thank you. I will be quite quick on this slide, just to remind you some, how can I say, some figures on what we have achieved during the process. We produced basically, as you know, two typologies of open educational resources, the reports and the CMAPs. This is the final CMAP. I don't know if everybody has gone a little through it, if you have seen it in a special way, but this picture is just to show you how it is complex after all that we have discussed and tried to elaborate according to our knowledge and our shared experience. In the middle, you find there is the gray box that is the integrated energy planning concept, and the knowledge regarding integrated energy planning is structured in domains of knowledge, in different domains of knowledge that are interconnected and are characterized by different colors. I will quickly go through it just to show you the results of our efforts, of our common efforts. As you see, this is the focus question that the map tries to give an answer to. So what are the main concepts to take into account when teaching and learning, we could say, integrated energy planning? These are the various parts, just to show you a little bit. There is the part regarding the context analysis. There is a part regarding the collection and treatment of data. There are additional resources, for example, what is this? Sorry. you see here, there are links to the thematic CMAPs that we produced during the thematic workshop, in this case to the Geographic Information System thematic CMAP. Then there is a part on the monitoring, on the tools, on spatial planning, on planning and managing energy infrastructure, on energy efficiency. As you see, for example, in the sorry. Oh. Ah, no. Go back. I want to go back. Ah. Sorry. I'm very technological. I wanted to go to this one, actually. Okay. For example, here you find in the middle there is a renewable energy technologies that goes to another thematic CMAP, and so on. This is the impact assessment part. Also here we have different links to the thematic CMAPs. And you see that sometimes the links to the external resources are on the concepts, and sometimes, for example, at the bottom, there is a link also to a thematic CMAP on the linking phrase. So this is a thematic CMAP linked, the one for the life cycle assessment. Of course, if you see in the middle, there is the flowchart concept, giving access to another kind of external resource that is, in this case, a graph. But this was just to show you what we achieved during our common work. Of course, all open educational resources are available at the project website, as Federica mentioned before. You already know, of course, the project website, but I just wanted to tell you that, to remind you, as we already discussed during our steering committee, that we completely reorganized the e-learning section of the website in order to provide some sort of a basic online course on sea mapping applied to energy planning. So we tried to reorganize all our project outputs, all our open educational resources to create teaching and learning sections, we can say. You can see here there are 6 sections, from the introduction to concept mapping to the last section that relates to the general concept maps on integrated energy planning. We will go quickly through it. Some sections have like subsections. Almost each section includes a practical exercise that has been conceived on the model of the exercises we tested in Amman, but can be used as a basis for further courses that can be also further developed. Here we have the other sections. You see all our open educational resources have been somehow integrated in this structure. So, for example, you see in section 3 we have the exercise on how to use the CMAPs to analyze scientific papers. So there is also the scientific papers collection, and so on. The thematic CMAPs, and the most important section is the section 6, where the general maps produced during the project, as Federica mentioned at the beginning, after the Amman workshop, and in the end, are downloadable and provide systematization of our knowledge on energy planning. I leave the stage once more to Federica to talk about the WebGIS. And
yes,
thank you.
We maybe very briefly, because
Yes.
we have
Already
seen
talked about
we have already talked about the WebGIS. So we had, as you know, we encountered some problems with the access right of some of the data that we would have liked to include in the WebGIS, but we tried to rearrange a bit the purposes of this tool, and we also hope to add more and more reference to new repositories of useful data. So we rearrange a bit the WebGIS. So as you have already seen, this is the layout of the website. Then we know that the open educational resources were already exploited somehow by all the partners during their educational activities. We had a lot of examples. We spoke also the day before yesterday about that. I think that we are going also to retake this course now. And I think it's already a good result. But I think that the challenge for ENEPLAN and for ENEPLAN partners is now forward, because we would like to consider all the ENEPLAN open educational resources as a toolbox to improve the incorporation of any journey planning topics into different curricula. So we are now at the beginning. We have the toolbox. We have some structured boxes, like we would like to intend our CMAPs, and we are going to use it. So they have proved to be a stimulating work tool for teaching and maybe for researching in some cases. And we think they are useful, so we hope that they will have a long life within our teaching and researching work. Thank you.